Hi everyone and welcome to my YouTube. I am really nervous. This is my first video, so please be kind and bear with me. So if you don't know me already from my social media, my name is Beth and I am currently full-time traveling around Asia. I left the UK in December where I went to Australia and New Zealand and lived the van life and absolutely loved it. And so now I've been in Asia for the last 4 months or so, living out a backpack and exploring everywhere from Thailand to Laos. I'm currently in a shitty hotel room in South Korea. So yeah, what I wanted to do was bring my travels to you by answering your questions and basically yeah, sharing everything I've learned, all the tips and tricks along the way, so that hopefully you're inspired to go out and see these places and you get to see the best of them as well. So today we are starting with Bali, which is one of my favorite places. I've been twice. I've been on a kind of luxury holiday there just for a week last September, and someone's beeping at me, I don't know what. And then I also went for about 2 months recently where I lived the backpacker life. Okay, so I've got a list of questions in front of me here. They were taken from an Instagram stories little question box thing I did last week. So I'm going to try and get through all the most frequently asked questions and hopefully I don't ramble on too much. So question number 1, is Bali safe? Do you feel safe at night there? Yeah, absolutely. It's never even crossed my mind actually in Bali to feel unsafe. It's a very welcoming, very warm country, and whether it's been nighttime or daytime or an area I know or somewhere brand new, I've never felt threatened there whatsoever. Yeah, honestly, I've never had an issue in Bali, and I've always felt as though people would help me as well if I did. There's always a lot of tourists around in the popular areas, and if there aren't tourists around, then the locals are really, really friendly. But I've certainly never had an issue there. Obviously, like in any place, you need to be vigilant, you need to be careful and look after yourself, look out for your friends, whatever. But I haven't ever felt threatened there. I've definitely felt more unsafe in London than I ever have in Bali. Best places to eat in Seminyak, Ubud and Uluwatu. Okay, it depends whether you're after local food or Western food. You can get literally anything you want in Bali. The food scene there is amazing. It's a total foodie paradise. So in Seminyak, my favorite foods, the fried chicken burger from Mano Beach House is insane. They only do it on the lunch menu, but they once made it for me in the evening because I didn't realize it was only at lunchtime, and it's that good that I think they could see the like crushing disappointment in my eyes. So yeah, that's a definite one to try. Also on the theme of burgers, if you really like them, then Bossman, also in Seminyak, does really great burgers. If you're after a fancier meal, then I would suggest Bamboo, which is also in Seminyak. It's amazing. You need to kind of book in advance and ask for a table by the water, and it is just absolutely stunning. And that is Indonesian food, but kind of a bit more fine dining. Oh, Motel Mexicola for sure is a Mexican restaurant. It is so much fun, even if you just go in there for a drink, though the food is really, really good as well. I can't even really describe it. It's like a crazy circus. There's music, there's dancing, there's a lot of tequila, so that is a great place to go out. Then there are also lots of warungs, which are Indonesian small family-run restaurants, really great for trying local food and also super cheap. So I have some favorites. I'm just going to check. It's called Barocca 19A, and you can find that on Google Maps. That is amazing, and they do nasi goreng and mie goreng, which is fried noodles, fried rice and chicken, or you can get a vegetable version or fish or whatever you want for the equivalent of about 70p. So that is brilliant. There's also one called Taman Bamboo, which is also in Seminyak, but kind of a little bit more towards Kuta. There's no menu there. Everything is kind of out and you just point. And they don't speak English, and the first time I went in there I was so overwhelmed. I walked out, I kind of got my composure and I went back again because it is so good and I love trying the local food. And then moving on to Ubud, my favourite restaurant in Ubud is called, oh gosh, how do I pronounce it? BETH Tebasari, I think it's BETH Tebasari Resto. There are now 2 of them. I've only actually been to the original one. It is stunning. It overlooks all the rice terraces, and then you eat in these kind of bamboo hut thingies. You sit on the floor, which is traditional Indonesian style, and their main thing is a crispy duck, which is just insane. So yeah, that is beautiful. And then also in Ubud, I really like white ginger for brunch. It's really good value. They do really good set breakfast menus, smoothie bowls, pretty much everything you could want, and it also makes a really good workspace because they have good Wi-Fi and fans, and they're just really sweet and won't bother you if you want to sit there for the day with your laptop. And then down in Uluwatu, my favourite restaurant is La Baracca, which is an Italian restaurant, and there is also one in Canggu, and La Baracca is just amazing. It's so hard to find good Italian food in Indonesia. I think in Asia in general, maybe that's a huge generalization, but I've always struggled, and La Baracca completely blew my socks off. They do amazing pasta, really good pizza, they sell wine. It's just such a treat, especially if you're traveling kind of long term. It's probably something that's a treat within your budget as well. It's reasonably priced, but it's obviously more than going to one of the cheap local places, and it's just one of those like hug in a bowl of food moments where you've been away from home for a long time and you just really need some pasta and red wine. Okay, next question, how to get from Bali to the Gili Islands. I would absolutely recommend Blue Water Express, which are one of the boat companies. They will pick you up from your hotel or your villa or your guest house or whatever, wherever you're staying, and then it takes 2 to 3 hours. Obviously the crossing is going to depend on the weather, but I was there in wet season and it was pretty calm. There was no issues, and we had dolphins swimming along the boat so often. It was just magical, and I just spent the whole journey up on the rooftop with sun cream on, obviously, just sunbathing, reading my book, having a nap, and it was absolutely blissful. So yeah, I took them both directions and I would absolutely recommend them. They were fantastic. I had no issues at all, whereas when I'd done some research beforehand, I'd seen some real horror stories with other companies, like luggage being looted and cockroaches on the boat. So Blue Water Express. I am going to Bali for 2 weeks. Where am I best to base myself? If I had 2 weeks in Bali, I wouldn't just stay in one place. I would probably stay in Canggu, I would go over to the Ghillies, I would stay in Ubud and Uluwatu as well. And the way I would probably split my time is around 3 nights on Gili tea, which is probably going to be controversial. People are going to tell me they won't prefer Gili air, but I don't know, I like Gili tea. And then I would spend about 4 or 5 nights in Canggu or Seminyak, depending on what you want. Canggu is more relaxed, more beachy, more surfy. You're going to find more people around there who are long-term traveling or living out in Bali, but you probably do need a scooter to get around. Seminyak is busier, more touristy, a bit more groomed as an area, but there's still great stuff and some great places to stay. And then I would spend maybe 3 nights in Ubud and 3 nights down in Uluwatu, where there are beautiful unspoiled beaches. And yeah, the beaches around Seminyak and Canggu actually aren't that nice. The sand isn't great, and it's good for surfing, less so for just chilling out maybe, unless you just want to sunbathe. Whereas down in Uluwatu, you're going to find kind of much more secluded beaches and beautiful water. And then Ubud is where the jungle is. So you are near the rice paddies, you have the monkey forest, and you are just surrounded by lush rainforest. Then sticking on the itinerary theme, the next question is, I have 1 week in Bali, can I go to the Ghillies as well? You can, it just depends entirely what you want to do with your time. I would suggest maybe for a week. It's so difficult. I would say probably for a week I would split it between Canggu or Seminyak and Ubud. I would probably just focus on Bali because there is a lot to see and do there. However, if you really want to see the Ghillies, it is amazing. You won't regret it. So then I would probably do 3 nights on the Ghillies and 4 nights on the mainland, or however many you've got. Do you think a day trip to Nusa Penida is worth it? Having actually not been to Nusa Penida yet, I would still say 100% yes. It looks absolutely beautiful. The only reason I haven't made it there yet is because I was just taking things slow last time I was there, and I kept saying, oh yeah, let's go next week, and then had to leave the country because my visa expired. But I'm going back later in the year, and we'll definitely be going to the 3 main Nusa Islands, Lembongan, Seningan and Penida. So yeah, if you are only in Bali for a shorter period of time, you can definitely still go over to Penida. There are lots of day trips. They'll pick you up really early. You'll get the boat over and you generally then I think get a guided tour of the island, and I would definitely say do it because it looks absolutely beautiful. And yes, it's busy, yes, people are going to tell you it's better to go and spend 5 nights there or whatever, but we all know that you don't necessarily have that time, so it's better, I think, to see it and to enjoy it. And then if you love it, you know that if you come back, it's somewhere you can dedicate more time to. What is public transport like? And the answer is non-existent. If you do not want to hire a scooter, which I had a lot of questions saying that people don't feel comfortable or they just don't want to hire one, how do they get around? You take a taxi or you take a Gojek, which is, well, you let someone else drive the scooter and you hop on the back. So you can hire a driver for an entire day, and that's really good value if you're, say you're staying in Seminyak or Canggu and you want to go to Ubud for a day trip, which is totally doable. Then you are probably best to hire a driver for the whole day. It's the equivalent of about £30, no matter how many people are in the car. So if you've got a few friends with you, it's really cheap. And they're basically at your disposal for about 12 hours or so, whatever you agree with them. So they're going to pick you up in the morning. I always suggest around 7 a.m. because the traffic gets so bad. You want to just get wherever you're going. And then they're literally going to drive you from place to place. And I have found the best way to do that when you're hiring a driver is to have already clearly in your mind decided where you want to go and then just tell them. My first ever driver experience in Bali wasn't bad, but he was quite pushy in saying, oh, you should go here, you should go here, you should eat here. And actually I already had ideas of where I wanted to go, so I had to be quite firm. The second time there were no issues at all. I actually spoke to the guy beforehand via WhatsApp. That's how everyone communicates in Bali. And I just told him the places we wanted to go and it was all fantastic. I've actually got some numbers for some drivers, so DM me on Instagram if you need hooking up. And then a scooter definitely is the best way to get around Bali, but if you don't feel comfortable renting one, that's totally fine. You can still make the most of their speed and their ability to weave around like a little snake by getting a Grab or a Gojek. And that is the kind of Bali, Indonesia, Asia equivalent to Uber. And so then you just call one on your phone like you would an Uber, but you can get a bike on that and it's going to cost you, like depending on where you're going, as low as maybe 30p, and you just get on the back and they bring your helmet. And yeah, so then that brings me round to taxis. I would say always use Grab or Gojek when you're around Bali. I would never personally hire, hail, wave at a Bluebird or one of the taxis on the streets, just because in my experience they really try and rip you off. So I would always go with a pre-booked ride where you know the price as well, because often with the metered cabs they won't switch the meter on and then they'll just give you like a crazy fare. The next question is, what is the best airline to fly to Bali with? I just go on Skyscanner or Google Flights or Kayak and I pick whatever's cheapest, honestly. I always make sure I search for flights in, oh, it's so windy, banging. I always search for flights in incognito mode because your browser stores that you're looking for flights and then it puts the prices up, no joke. So yeah, search in incognito, look on comparison flight sites like Skyscanner and just go with whatever works for you. Personally, I'm not like airline sensitive, I don't have favorites to fly with, and I just go with whatever is going to maybe be the best time, but yeah, definitely one of like whatever's like at the top of the page for the lowest cost. And that can vary. I've seen flights that are for less than £300 return from the UK, which is brilliant, but it does mean that you have to maybe spend 15 hours in a Chinese airport on the way. Equally, you can pretty much get straight over with minimal stopover time for maybe £500–600 depending on the season, and it's going to then go up and down depending on peak times. Is Bali worth visiting? Is anything left unspoiled? Yes, please still go to Bali. It is brilliant. Everyone sees on Instagram the kind of shininess around Seminyak, the touristy stuff, whatever. There is so much more to Bali than that. There's still a lot of unspoiled landscape, beautiful waterfalls, black beaches. So most of Bali tourism is actually populated in a really tiny area around the south. And you've kind of got this south pinnacle with Uluwatu at the cliffy bit. And then to the west, I think my geography is not awesome, you've got Canggu and all that area. To the east, you've got Sana, which I've never been to. I think it's quite a resorty area, quite family friendly. So that actually only takes up a really tiny pocket of Bali. It's so windy. You can head north, and I think heading north is something that I'm definitely going to do on a future trip because I haven't seen the north yet, and it is meant to be stunning and much more unspoiled. If you want to go to Bali but you're not a fan of heavily impacted touristy areas, just go and head north, head towards Tabanan. It is beautiful. I want to do villa life, maybe all inclusive is their best company. I wouldn't go all inclusive in Bali. You'll miss out on so much in terms of the food, because there are just so many amazing restaurants and local places to eat that I think if you did all-inclusive, you would actually miss out on that quite a lot. In terms of villas, there are so many. They are beautiful and they're also really good value. I always use Airbnb. Found some awesome places on there. You can find places that are going to sleep 6 people for maybe £60 a night with a private pool. So I would just say start by looking on Airbnb, and you can definitely live the villa life. And actually, if there's a group of you or a family or something, I would rather do that than hotel personally. Where is best to go out? Kuta, definitely. It's really tacky. So if you want, I don't know what that noise was, it was horrible. If you want just fun cheesy bars with your mates, you're going to find cheap drinks and that kind of nightlife around Kuta. It is nicknamed Aussie Magaluf for a reason, so if that's what you're after, that's that. Then Old Man's in Canggu is also really, really good fun. Mississippi hosts kind of like plates and parties and stuff occasionally, so does Potato Head. And if you look around, you'll find some cool things going on. Like, unfortunately, it was while I was scuba diving in the Ghillies, but Fatboy Slim was at Uluwatu Cliff House, which I would have literally loved to go and see. How much money do I need to go to Bali? I find this question so difficult. It lands in my DMs all the time and I never know how to answer, because you can go to Bali and you can really spend not a lot. So for example, you can go and get a private room for a tenner a night. You can rent a scooter for about £2 a day. It costs maybe 50p for the fuel, and you could then eat 70p meals. So you can have a really great cheap time. Or alternatively, you can go and stay in 5-star luxury. You can rent a driver, you can take cabs everywhere, you can go and eat out at the westernized places, which are cheap by Western standards, by home standards, but then really, really expensive by Bali standards. So you're maybe looking at £10 to £20 a meal, which, yeah, so cheap for at home when you can go out for kind of like a full fine dining meal and get alcohol as well for like £30 or £40. But by Bali standard, that's extortionate. So it completely depends what you want to do. And I would say, actually, if you're just going for a holiday, you should try and do a balance. Yeah, it's difficult. It also depends on alcohol and whether you drink much. Alcohol in Bali is, again, cheap by home standards, not cheap at all by like Southeast Asian standards. It's maybe £2 a beer, and cocktails are going to vary anywhere from £4 to £6, £7. So yeah, cheap if you're from London, not cheap if you have been in Asia for a while and you're used to like 50p pints. With money, lots of places take card. You do definitely not need to get a load of cash out before you go. I actually really don't recommend that for anywhere, because, well, if you lost it all, you'd be screwed. So I'd suggest using a travel card like a Monzo or something similar. There are ATMs. I have never had an issue at an ATM. I know that card skimming can be an issue, so I would just say that with that, maybe make sure you've got more than one card with you just in case anything happens. You'll have notifications on from your online banking from something like Monzo on the app, so if anything suspicious does appear, you can really quickly freeze it. They're awesome at sorting stuff like that out. But yeah, you just might want a backup option. But I paid with card everywhere I could. You'll need some cash as well for the little warangs, for markets, or buying like little things. But yeah, take card. And in terms of how much to spend, it's going to depend. I think you need to really sit down and think beforehand about what your budget is, and you can basically make Bali fit your budget. Is Bali worth it from the UK for just 1 week? Yes, it is. I did 6 nights in Bali back in September. Look, it's a long, long way. It takes around 24 hours door to door to get there and back. So it's obviously a lot of travel time. But if you had a week overall and then you were going to take the travel days off, it would make it quite snug. But if you can maybe give yourself 8 or 9 days and then spend 7 of those in Bali, you're going to have a really great time. And yes, it maybe isn't as long as you would like there, but you can still see so much in a week. And yeah, I had a brilliant time when I went for a week. Okay, is scamming a popular problem in Bali? I've never been scammed in Bali other than people, taxi drivers trying to charge over the fare. And I think with something like that, as long as you know what something should cost, if someone's taking the piss, basically, you can kind of politely tell them that, and you can just basically say no. Card skimming is kind of a thing, so you want to watch out for that at ATMs. Please don't not use ATMs. I personally never had an issue with that, but I know other people who have. I would just say with that, you need to have a backup plan, and you need to just keep an eye on your bank and your finances and stuff. Other than that, I think the main issue you're going to have in terms of maybe scamming isn't so much people like full on scamming you. It's more just rip off prices, and people maybe, yeah, that you just need to be careful at the markets with a taxi driver. Know what something should cost and just don't let yourself kind of be taken for granted. So I think that is more than enough for now, but if there is anything I haven't answered, if you have any other questions, either drop them as a comment below or DM me on Instagram and I will happily help you out. And I hope you all have the best time either daydreaming about your future trip to Bali or actually planning on and heading there soon. It is just such a magic country. You're gonna fall in love with it. It's got an awesome vibe. The people are really kind. So just go, have fun and relax and learn a few words in Bahasa. I think it always helps to say hello and thank you in the local language. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I hope that this has been helpful and you are feeling even more pumped for your future trip to Bali.